What's going on, Giants fans? Back at it with another video here. And in this video, I'm going to discuss the Giants Week 1 loss to the Denver Broncos, 27-13 in Week 1. Not an ideal game. I was in attendance with my Big Blue Avenue buddy, Hank and Dichter. We were very confident coming off Thursday night show, Facebook live stream, and they fell short. 20th anniversary of 9/11. Luck was not on our side. Before I dive into the game, make sure to go check us out on all our social media platforms at Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at Big Blue Avenue. I did have to change my setup for this video a little bit. It is late at night currently, so that's why a little bit low here. But I just want to recap this before we go live on Thursday, before the Giants Thursday night football game against the Washington football team. Just want to get my general thoughts and recap on the game. There were a lot of negatives, but there were some positives to take from this football game. Obviously, you see the 13 for the Giants in the scorebook, but it was really 7 if you think about it. The Giants scored on the last play of the game. In garbage time, Denver's defense was letting up. Shout out to guys like Von Miller. Bradley Chubb didn't even play, and Denver still dominated defensively. I know Ronald Darby left with an injury, and so did Jerry Jeudy for them on the offensive end. So the Giants have no excuse as to why they weren't able to at least keep this a closely contested game down to the wire. So a couple positives, though, offensively. Sterling Shepard was really good. He was my player of the game, had 7 catches for 113 yards and 1 touchdown. This is a guy who missed a lot of the beginning of last season, so it was great to see him and Daniel Jones, their chemistry. I love the out route he ran. He's been really good as the Z receiver, but now he's kind of transitioning into the slot this year. Giants going with their trio with Golladay, Shepard, and Slayton. Of course, with Kadarius Toney, who really didn't get that much involved. He only caught 2 passes for -2 yards, but Sterling Shepard had an average of 16 yards per catch, which is something you really love to see if you're a New York Giants fan. I was very happy with his performance. Not to mention, he passed Hakeem Nicks for 10th place on the all-time list of Giants reception leaders, and he's also caught a pass now in 55 straight games as the longest tenured Giant. Another thing I found interesting about this game was Kenny Golladay, our big prize free agent acquisition from the Detroit Lions, who the Giants only threw to him once in the first half. Jason Garrett, the play calling, they really didn't get him involved. You can blame the play calling a little, the play by Daniel Jones, the offensive line. There's several different components as to why Golladay only had 4 receptions, but 4 catches for 64 yards. Golladay has an excellent pair of hands. He pretty much catches everything that's thrown his way. I'm happy he's on our team and that he's our bona fide number 1 wide receiver. As far as Daniel Jones goes, he had a good first half, hit Darius Slayton on a nice 42-yard vertical, but they didn't really take many shots downfield after that. I was a little bit disappointed outside of that play and the Sterling Shepard touchdown. Daniel Jones was sacked twice. He did have that one costly fumble in the second half, which really pained me because that's the one thing he needs to improve on this year if he's going to be our long-term franchise quarterback. And the critics are out again, and rightfully so. I am an avid Daniel Jones supporter, but his play needs to improve in Week 2 against the very stout Washington defense that also looked a little shaky in Week 1. Obviously, Evan Ingram didn't play, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Giants actually missed Evan Ingram on Sunday. His presence was one less option that Denver had to worry about defensively. Kyle Rudolph was not much of a threat. He only had 2 catches for 8 yards. He was in for more primary blocking purposes. The Giants only activated 2 tight ends, and C.J. Board was the only player that they elevated from the practice squad. He was returning kicks. So Caden Smith and Kyle Rudolph were the only 2 tight ends on the roster. Offensive line-wise, they went with Thomas, who had an outstanding game. Andrew Thomas held his own, whether he was blocking Von Miller or Malik Reed. He was very fun to watch. He had the best pass protection grade on the Giants line, PFF-wise. Quietly had a really, really good game. Andrew Thomas had, I believe, an 80 PFF grade this week, and his pass protection was really high as well. Ben Bredesen did wind up, as I predicted, replacing Shane Lemieux at left guard. Shane just, again, going through that partially torn patellar tendon. It's a serious injury that He's not going to be treating till the offseason. As an offensive lineman, you can get away with it because you're not running as much on the football field, but Ben Bredesen is likely going to start week 2 against the Washington football team. He did struggle at times. He's more of a pass protection specialist. The Giants really struggled in the run game. They couldn't get Saquon Barkley much going yardage-wise. I saw a lot of 2-3 yard runs. Barkley was still trying to get his feet wet. The biggest thing for the Giants is that Barkley came out of this game healthy, and he's going to get a few more reps in week 2. It's going to take him a few weeks before Barkley is what we expect him to be. And this offensive line does need to improve along with it, though, as we did see Nate Solder starting at right tackle. He rotated with Matt Pert. Solder was not good. He gave up a sack. I believe he blocked Sterling Shepard at one point, which is not what you want to see. And as we turn the page to things defensively, the Giants and defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, they blitzed the Denver Broncos 44% of the time and could not find their own pass rush. Azeez Ojulari had what I would call a coverage sack, first of his career, good for him, and Austin Johnson had the other. But with the amount of times that Bridgewater was able to just pick apart our defense and look like an all-pro, that leads to tell me that the Giants need to improve some things schematically, defensively. I understand they're without 2 of their day 2 and 3 rookies in Ellerson Smith and Aaron Robinson for the first several weeks of the season, but they really do miss guys on that D-line like Dalvin Tomlinson, B.J. Hill. The edge rushers are coming back with Carter and Zimenez off of injuries. It's going to take a few weeks for this defense to get it together. I think they're going to have a much better performance against Washington in week 2. But Ojulari with a promising start. Logan Ryan, in my opinion, had the best game defensively for the Giants. 10 tackles, had the 1 tackle for loss, and then on a little play-action bootleg left, Bridgewater was throwing, I believe it was either Tim Patrick or that tight end, one of the reserve tight ends for the Broncos, and Ryan just popped the ball out and recovered it inbounds. It was a good momentum shift at that time where the Giants got the football back, but then eventually they went 3 and out. But Logan Ryan, worthy of the captain on his chest this season, and he's going to have a great year for this football team. I'm really excited about him. I thought both corners did their job pretty well in Bradbury and Adoree Jackson. McKinney had a couple of pass breakups. I like that. Blake Martinez did not have his best game, missed a really bad tackle effort that led to a Broncos touchdown. I mean, you could rack up all the tackles you want. You look at the stat sheet, he had 9 tackles. He had a good game. Blake Martinez did not have a good football game in week 1. I was pretty disappointed in his play. So hopefully he turns things around in week 2. Now we look ahead to Washington on Thursday night. It's a short week on the road. I don't know how confident I feel, but the good news for the Giants is they're going up against the backup quarterback in Taylor Heineke, who only has 2 career starts, one of them being in last year's playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was good in that game, but he was also the team was also playing all year. They were hot. They were on a roll. This is a different football team now. Their defense, like ours, did not look too great last week. I expect a low-scoring affair. And now it's just with the way we performed against the Broncos, I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. I'll give my score prediction on our Facebook live stream on Big Blue Avenue Thursday evening with Sam and Hank and our guest for the week. But now the bottom line is, after this Broncos game, the Giants are now 0-1 for the 10th time in the past 11 years. I'm sick of losing. It was the first time I ever witnessed the Giants loss in person at a game. I saw all wins up until this point. I guess that's what you get when you don't go to too many games and you pick games against favorable teams. And this was one of those games that they should have won. But unfortunately, the Giants fall short against the Denver Broncos. It is a non-conference game, so the games still count just as much. You want to win as many football games as you can. But, bottom line is they got to do a better job setting up the run, get Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay involved offensively, try to take some shots downfield and change the playbook up a little bit. But, again, they're being very conservative. I don't know if they're doing it to protect Daniel Jones or what they're trying to do. Barkley's health is coming in full circle soon, but we will see what happens. Until then, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning into this video here, this week 1 recap. Going to have a couple of highlights up on Thursday night, in particular on Sterling Shepard and Kenny Golladay, just to show you how the Giants were able to manipulate a couple of routes, 2 great route runners that the Giants have on their receiving core, and we'll see what Daniel Jones did well and what he did not so much do well. But until then, make sure to give us a subscribe on our YouTube channel below if you like what you hear at Big Blue Avenue. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter for more New York Football Giants content.